Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter, ThunderCast_pod, and head on over to the YouTube. Give the ThunderCast channel a subscription so that you never miss any of the ThunderCast YouTube exclusive content. Russ, we had a massively epic weekend in herd athletics. One could go so far as to say an all-time great weekend for the herd. A lot of our teams were at home, and a lot of our teams picked up huge victories, and we're going to talk about all of it because, man, what a weekend it was. I tried to consume as much herd athletics as I possibly could, and I think I achieved just that. So let's get into all of it, but before that, we got to get a quick word from our sponsors at 304carwreck.com. If you've been hurt in a wreck, visit 304carwreck.com on the web or on Facebook. Matt and Jason are experienced injury lawyers in Huntington who have helped many people, just like you, with claims throughout West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky. Car wrecks, truck wrecks, and injury claims aren't just something they do, it's what they do. Find them at 304carwreck.com. Look, I know we've got a big football game that we're going to talk about. We've got a huge soccer match that we're going to talk about. And some of that might be included in this, but hey, we've got to get going where we always get going, and that's with 5 things that every herd fan needs to know this week.
Yeah, and with our 5 things every herd fan needs to know this week, as always, it's brought to you by IgniteLink, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. Starting off number 1, Morgan Zirkle will be the presenter at the NFCA Coaches Clinic in Chicago in January.
Yep, I think that's pretty cool, man. She's I know she hasn't coached a game as a head coach yet, but it really feels like Morgan is this rising star in the softball world, even without having coached an official game for Marshall University. She's just got this reputation as an all-time great player. She's got a reputation as a really good pro player. She's got a reputation as a really good assistant coach. And she and her staff, I really, honestly, truly feel like are about to flip the softball world on their ear of what we're about to do in Huntington, West Virginia with an all-female staff, all under 30. And Morgan's right there at the head of that, man. This just feels like the lighting of the fuse, if you will, for the Morgan Zirkle rocket.
Using my history with baseball, if you're good at fundamentals and you can teach the fundamentals as a player to another player, you can do that as a coach and things. These coaches clinics, it's human nature to you. It's like the back of your hand to you. You know, I can talk about all the different fielding things and things that I learned over the years with baseball. I'm sure she can do that as well. This is going to, the same as we talked about when Coach Smith Lyon did this out on the West Coast. This is going to open up some avenues for her to maybe for recruiting, for, different pipelines or something that she may not have right now. This is going to be a really good thing. And like you said, she's a rising star. This just puts a little more shine on Marshall and on her.
Sure does, man.
All right, number 2, we have Matthew Bell named Offensive Player of the Week. That was last Tuesday for the Sun Belt Conference. This Tuesday, Adam Almush. We've got 4 of the the first 5 offensive players of the week. Go figure, we're very good at soccer. But this is Matthew Bell's second and Amash's first.
As a good friend of ours from yesteryear would say, well, you'll have that. When you're good at things, you'll have that. So it's no surprise that Matthew Bell notches another Sunbelt Offensive Player of the Week, and then Ayamash just matches that coming off the heels of the lone goal scored in the match against UCF, the record-setting crowd, which we'll talk about. I don't want to give away too much of that, but
Yeah.
it's just not surprising. When you're that damn good at soccer, these individual accolades and weekly awards are just going to find their way to you.
Yeah, we've got, like I said, 4 of the first 5, and we've had some of those players that were recipients or potential recipients haven't been playing here the last
Mm-hmm.
couple of games. So, uh, just what else can this team get as far as accolades right now, this far into the
Well, I
season?
was going to say right now and not much, but
Yeah,
they're
I mean, they. It seems like they've gone. I can't remember what week that we didn't win it, but it had to have been quite the offensive onslaught for whatever player that was not a Marshall player that won it that week.
yeah.
Number 3, women's soccer has been honored by the Cabell County Board of Education. They went around to every single elementary school and given encouragement and other things for all the students.
Well, this is going to be one of those things where I haven't been able to bust out the word in a couple of weeks, so we're going to be able to bust it out now. And this women's soccer team was absolutely a differentiator in the community, and that's something that we just never get tired of seeing, reading, and or talking about, because people need to know that. People need to know that, in spite of all the work that they do, practice, games, classroom, tutoring, traveling, all that stuff, you still go out and are impactful members in the community, and to go around and hit all of the schools in the area and just be there. Be there. Nothing like that ever happened at my school when I was a kid, because if it did, I would absolutely 100% remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Having these collegiate athletes roll into my school as an elementary kid and talk to me. And I mean, dang, teachers and parents can talk to you till they're blue in the face, and a lot of times it won't register. But one athlete, one, cool kid, like at a high school or even, says it one time, and it's like the first time you've ever heard it, and it makes so much sense. So I'm really glad that they're out in the community doing this kind of stuff, because those words of encouragement might not seem like much in the moment, but they can make a huge difference in the mind of a child.
Coinciding with that, and I know this because I have 2 in elementary school, they were giving out free, there's a code or something that you got to use, but you got free passes to go to a game. And just think of that, getting to see these players, like you said, at your school. And you're a little kid, you're wild eyed, these are superheroes to you, right? And then you can go watch them on the field, these people that just came to your school.
Yeah.
What does that do for making new fans? Great move by the team, great move by the athletic department, but above all of that is, like you said, making a difference in the community.
Yep.
All right, so number 4, zipping right through these this week. Rasheen Ali is named Offensive Player of the Week for the Sun Belt in football.
Shocker.
Well, I think it was.
No, I don't think it was, because
Well,
I
no,
know
no, not-
some people are going to talk about the Texas State back who had
Well, that's
200
what I'm
and
saying.
some.
It's
But
not a shocker to us. It was a shocker to some, and there was a spirited debate on Twitter, at least, about that. So that's why I was saying it was a shocker to some that he got that. We know what we have.
yes, and I even called it. I said, don't be surprised if this is the game where Rasheen goes for 150, 60, or 70, and he even outpaced that. I jokingly said this could be that 200-yard game, and while I 100% thought it was possible to happen, you still think, man, that's pretty tough to get there, but I absolutely saw the breakout game on the horizon, and it proved true. So yeah, there might be a little bit of an argument there, but still, I don't really think that there is too much, because Rasheen went out and dominated in a big game, and even though Texas State played Nevada, who is a really decent team, he went for 216. Ali goes for 174, 2 touchdowns against a Power 5 opponent. That's always just going to carry more weight. It doesn't matter that Marshall was favored in the game. You know how media is. They say, oh, well, this is a more marquee game. If they would have been more true and given Marshall proper credit and said, well, the herd was favored in this game, maybe that 170 is not as impressive as that 216. Well, that's not always how it goes. And while, I would like to say that um, I wish it could have gone the other way. I don't, because Rasheen deserved what he did. He absolutely, you know, was the spark plug yet again for this herd offense when we really needed it. Several big plays. I mean, he's the guy. He's the guy.
And I agree with everything you're saying. I do. You just know what we would think if it was on the
Yeah,
other
I do.
end. If we had Rasheen had rushed for more yards than the other person that won, and either had the same amount of touchdowns or more touchdowns or whatever, we would be saying, "Man, he got robbed," and that's what their fans are doing. And
Mm-hmm.
they're backing their guy. It's a shock to them. We know what we have here. He should be probably the offensive player of the week every week.
Yeah.
He's an absolute machine, and he proved it against Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they don't have a right to be upset, because
Yeah.
they should. I mean, if you guys don't know, it's Ishmael Mahdi from Texas State. He went for, let me find it real quick, 21 carries for 216 yards and two touchdowns, 10.3 yards per carry in a 35-24 win over Nevada. So they have a legitimate gripe,
Hmm.
but it just didn't go their way. We've been on the short side of those anyway,
We have.
where
We have.
Rasheen's had a big game, or even before that, Cato have a big game or somebody, and you get to the point where you go, well, they almost expect that guy to have a great game, so we're going to give it to the other guy. And
Hmm.
fortunately, Rasheen just had his big breakout game this year. We knew it was coming, and here it is, and now it's just off to the races, hopefully for Rasheen, and that, again, to use the saying I said a little bit ago, hopefully that's the lighter on the wick for the Rasheen Ali rocket now,
Yeah.
but props to him, man. He put the hurt on his back there in for a big part of that game, and broke the game wide open for the herd.
Number 5, we have an absolute epic run of events starting on Thursday with um, Hoops in Huntington, downtown Huntington. The first event of that last year was just amazing. What a backdrop at night, right on the streets. The had a street ball field with everyone around the perimeter, just standing around watching it. That kicks off again on Thursday. On Friday, we have the Greg Rousey Memorial Golf Tournament for baseball that you can still get a team in. I think you just need to go on Herd Zone, go over and see who you need to contact, and do all that jazz. Also on Friday, we have the homecoming parade. We heard Matt James say that we were doing that on Friday, try to get the people that are coming in, the alums that are coming in, and they also absolutely did not want to interfere with uh, the Hoops in Huntington event. Saturday, obviously, got the football game, caps off homecoming. Well, we got all these different reunions and tailgates and that sort of thing. We're going to talk about that real quick. We've got our tailgate, and we're going to have the softball alums over at our tailgate.
Mm-hmm.
And right across the alley, 4th Avenue, at the M Club Pavilion, is going to be the Herd Brothers football alums. And we've heard that some of them might migrate across the alley and come over to our tailgate as well. So
Yep.
that obviously the baseball alums that will be here doing the golf tournament, they're going to have their own thing that's going to be on the new turf, the baseball stadium over there. So they're going to have a tailgate right on the infield over there for them. So lots of tailgating, lots of reunions, but we're not done. Sunday at noon, the home run derby for the softball team.
Yeah.
Great event. Great
Super
event.
cool idea. Yep.
Yeah.
Super cool idea.
And
If folks aren't, let me touch on that real quick. If folks aren't sure what that is, of course, yes, you know what a home run derby is, but it's
yeah,
a fundraiser for the softball team. So you can sponsor a player to win, or you can sponsor a player's distance for their
yeah,
combined home runs, and all of the ways to make your choices and what you want to pledge and all that kind of stuff is on the Herd Zone on the softball. There's a link to fill it out and do what you want to do. But that's a cool event, man. And I hope it
Very
gets a
good.
big crowd. It should get a decent crowd.
Yeah.
But pick your player. I mean, even the coaches are going to be playing, from what I gather. So you can get the long ball abilities of Morgan. You can get them from um, of current players like Riley and even Bick. I stopped by the softball game, the scrimmage, and Sydney Bickle took two out in consecutive at bats, and it was pretty wild because she wasn't known for that last year.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a lot of ways to win. And there's no rule that says you can only pick one player. So hey, get out there and support the softball team and check out a pretty cool event.
Yeah. So epic from Thursday to Sunday. I think that qualifies. And we thought last weekend was epic, which it was.
Oh, it was.
This is shaping up to be a different kind of epic. You don't have a number one Marshall soccer team playing at home to anchor that. You don't have Virginia Tech coming here at home to anchor that. But all these events are must go to. I can't imagine missing hoops in Huntington. It's
Right,
just
yeah.
going to. I really hope weather cooperates like it did last year, because that is just such an amazing event that we started last year, and I can't wait to see how we top it this year.
I've also got to talk about that video that we filmed with Matt James and Jimmy Black
Mm-hmm.
of the Marshall University Foundation and the Alumni Association, respectively, because they talked a lot about the events of homecoming. And remember, Matt talked about bringing back the car smash. That's a
Yep.
thing again, and that was always really cool. When we were students. So go check that video out on our YouTube channel if you're curious about some of the events that might be going on through the Alumni Association for Homecoming Week, because they wanted to make a big push for that. And the links to all of their websites and the University Foundation website and all that stuff is linked to that video, so that you have the ability to get involved with the Alumni Association, make donations if you want to, or just see their calendar of events, to augment your entire homecoming weekend. You can make it a true herd weekend, just like I did this past weekend being in Huntington, West Virginia. I went to as much sports as I could. I can't be back this weekend, but there is even more opportunity to get involved with more stuff other than just going to games this weekend. I think the herd's trying to kind of kill it in the homecoming week department, and it looks like, at least from a calendar standpoint, they're going to do it.
Yeah, we've talked about how we've elevated just about everything, the digital side, the marketing side, the events side. This is just an extension of that. We've got a second annual event and a first time event. To my knowledge, this is the first time we've done a softball home run derby like this. But we're just killing it right now. I'm so glad that we're doing this show to get to cover this stuff and bring this to the people. But I'm glad to hear about it myself, so I know about all these things to go to. I can't wait to hopefully get out of church on Sunday, take the kids over, go to this home run derby. Hopefully the weather will allow for that.
Yeah.
But it's epic, man. Epic weekend.
I know it's going to be so freaking cool. I wish that we had the capability to be at all of these places and go live. I know that's not doable, but man, how cool would that be to be able to broadcast from these events and maybe talk to some of the people that are there and taking part in some of these festivities. Of course, we're going to have ThunderCast live at the tailgates, and so we'll be doing a live tailgate show. But broadcasting from Hoops in Huntington would be awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
that
I
would be
think
so cool.
I think that I can make everybody forget about Chris Berman at the with the calls at the that one's on the Buffalo at the Klein, that sort of thing.
No, so it's going to be a really great week, and for everybody that's going into Huntington, I should also mention that if you haven't been back in a long time, we also have another video on our YouTube channel on how to dominate your Marshall game day experience. So, how do you get tickets, where you can stay, fan-friendly tailgates, all that kind of stuff, where to park. The face of Huntington looks a little bit different. Like some of the buildings that you might be expecting to see aren't there anymore. So if you haven't been back in a number of years, it might be a good idea to go over to our YouTube channel and watch that video. It's only about 35, 40 minutes. I mean, it's, you can watch it on your way to work or listen to it on your way to work one day or something like that so you can get the details and get yourself prepared for a great homecoming weekend. And hey, stop by the Sea Lot because you never know who's going to pop up at a ThunderCast tailgate, man. I can't
That's
wait to
right.
talk about that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
What else
All
you got?
right. That's it. That does it for the 5 things every Herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by Ignite Link.
Man, what a great 5 things. And I can't wait to get into this weekend because, it got kicked off really on Friday. So I don't want to give too much. We're going to talk about that in Around the Herd, but it got kicked off on Friday for me personally and for a lot of Herd fans in attendance at the camp to watch the volleyball team. But the first marquee event was the noon kickoff football game against Virginia Tech. And we're going to talk about that right now. 24-17 victory for the Herd. Herd's undefeated, 3-0 right now, rocking and rolling, despite still, Russ, not having played a complete four-quarter game. It's kind of scary what this Herd team could be if they string together 60 unbelievably solid minutes of football. But look, when you look down those indicators, it's still a really good game by the Herd. Total yards goes to the Herd. Time of possession goes to the Herd. First downs go to the Herd. Third downs go to the Herd. The only thing the Herd don't win are turnovers, and it didn't matter. Total yards, 380 for the Herd, 343 for the Hokies. Time of possession, 32-14 for Marshall. 27-14 for Virginia Tech. First downs 19-16 in favor of the Herd. Third down conversions, 5 of 14 for the Herd was good enough to win the day, and that's because the Hokies were a meager 2 of 13 on third down. Turnovers, 2 for the Herd, 1 for the Hokies. That is it as far as the indicators in this game going Texter's way. It was a sell-out crowd at Joan C. Edwards Stadium. Russ Living Good stripe the Joan. It looked gorgeous. 31,475 people, and let's stop right there because that drone footage was freaking cool as shit. I don't care if we got, quote, publicly reprimanded. Worth it. Absolutely worth it. Let's talk about that real quick before we move into the tailgate. What do you think about these initial kind of indicators, this Texter team coming into Huntington? I know we were both like positive about getting this win, but did that ever kind of feel like in question to you at all?
So I missed the opening drive trying to get into the stadium. I left plenty of time to get in, but there was just that many people trying to get into the stadium at the same time. You've only got 6 gates. I tried to go see, looked like it was going to be a long, I was going to have to, where I came up, I was going to have to back at a 45-degree angle to go get in line. So I said, I'll just go over to B. B had 3 different lines merging into one. And, they've got 2 different gate Bs, on both sides. I was on the south side, and 3 lines were trying to get into one to go in there, and it took me 30 minutes to get in. So I missed that opening drive. And I will say that opening drive and then seeing the interception shortly afterwards when I was in my seat, it looked like, man, this could turn out to be totally different than what we expected.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I would ever say that it was in doubt. I always believed, I always thought that we would handle our business, do what we needed to do. But they didn't come in and just roll over. They came in and tried to run it right down our throats. They tried to come in and play their game, and we just played our game and beat them.
For me, it was a kind of a rough start because you do go down, give up the touchdown, and you get the pick, and you're thinking, dang, man, this is kind of a worst case scenario right now to start. But even still, I didn't feel like the Herd was just going to fold.
Right.
Because I felt like there was so much at stake and there was so much just personal pride with this team. They knew they were better than that Virginia Tech team.
Absolutely.
Even despite that rough start, they knew they were the better football team. And that's no slight to Virginia Tech. It's how good this Marshall team is and how they're built. They can weather those storms. We've seen it already, and they can come back from that adversity and take control of the game, and they were able to do that.
Look at the 3 games that we've played so far. We have been behind in all 3. We had to come back in 2 fourth quarters to win the first two, and then we had to come back against a P5. No matter what you want to say about them being down, we knew that we were the better favored team going into this. I think the matchup showed us being the better team. It's still a P5 built on all that money, all that recruiting that they're able to do, and we were down to them early.
Mm-hmm.
And we came back, and we came back and dominated, and we're up big. So we've had 3 games right now that, like you said, we haven't put together 4 quarters consecutively for a solid game, but we have shown that we're not going to give up, and we are built to be able to score quickly. We're built to come back and dominate. We're built to have our defense just absolutely take over and shut down any attempts to score. So this just showed out again in this game.
Yeah, I gotta lay out these first few drives, right? Because here's how the game started. It goes touchdown allowed, interception, Virginia Tech punt, Herd missed field goal, a 3-and-out by the Herd defense, and then the Herd finally gets the touchdown. So that is not what I would call a fast start scoring, right? And that's 2 pretty big negatives, an interception, and then you get something going and you miss the field goal. That's those kind of like, dang, man. Well, we're going to have to punch it in the end zone, and shortly thereafter that's exactly what it was. A quick 3-and-out, and then boom, the touchdown, and the Herd's on the board, and kind of the defense has settled in. By the time you get the interception, so it was one drive, and then the Herd defense settled in. That was it. And really, it was again the ugly quarterback, long run that reared its ugly head again for the 3rd straight game. That's the bugaboo that's become a hallmark early in the season for this Herd defense. Is they play great, but they have been allowing that one long quarterback run. And Drone's got a couple of them in this game. Only one went for a score, it wasn't long, but the first one was long. But he got away a couple of times. They were able to get to him a bunch too, but after that first touchdown drive, the Herb defense settled in, and after that interception by the offense, punt, 3-and-out, and then bam, Herd's on the board after our own missed field goal. But let's back it up a little bit before we get into what our players did, man, because we had a massively awesome tailgate.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, unbelievably awesome tailgate. And we told people for weeks and weeks and weeks that we're coming in, hey, you can stop by. We're going to have tons of food. We're going to have tons to drink. We'll have plenty of room. We won't be on top of one another. I mean, we have 5 spaces in the C lot and generally are able to bleed over into some auxiliary room, right? We're not trying to give away the blueprint here, but we have plenty of room for people to spread out and have a good time. So you're not on top of one another, and people showed out, Russ. I mean, they came by, a lot of people. I feel comfortable saying we fed several hundred people throughout the duration of our tailgate.
At one time, there was easily 100 people there at the same time.
Yeah, and that's not who was coming and going and passing through and stopping by for 10 minutes and leaving and come back. So I feel very, very confident that we edged. I would feel comfortable saying close to that 300 to 400 total people plateau. Within the we were there for 6 hours, 5.5 hours.
Well, that's before the game.
Yeah.
We were there after the game.
That's
for a
right.
while, too.
That's right. But you just never know who's going to show up. Several former players stopped by and said what's up. It was great to see all of those guys, and even some other former athletes from other sports were there as well. And everybody was just having a great time. That just goes to show you, like, we had Virginia Tech Hokies fans that came by before and after the game. So, the ThunderCast tailgate is a place to go and hang and have a good time in a relatively worry-free zone,
We had player parents from Virginia Tech, Derek Canteen, the safety. His parents came through before the game and after the game. We got to show them a little bit of the Herd hospitality, and they loved it. They stopped and talked. They weren't in a hurry. They, I let them know where they were going to pick up their will call tickets for the visiting players, and I offered them, something to eat and drink before they went over, and we offered them something to eat and drink when they came back after the game, and we talked about the game. And it's a safe place for fans. It's a safe place for parents, kids. My kids were there at halftime. We had cake for my oldest. She turned 12 the next day, and we had a little party for her there at halftime. A quick one, but
Yeah.
a little party. So kids can come by. Uh, Adults can come by, parents can come by, whatever you want to do. We are the place to go for the tailgate.
Yeah, and it's important to note that, because we want people to have such a good time, especially opposing fans, that they
Yeah.
want to come back to Huntington. That's what it's all about. And I got to tell you this: Herd fans really showed out. They really did. Not from just an attendance standpoint, which made it look gorgeous on TV. We went back and watched a rewatch. It looked great on TV.
Mm.
The fan photos, the photos that are going to come out of this for years to come are going to be unbelievably great.
That
But
drone video.
the drone video was so cool, man. But I asked every Virginia Tech fan that I encountered, everyone, how have you been treated? And not a single person had anything negative to say. Not a single person. And when I tell you I probably talked to 50 or 60 different Virginia Tech fans, I did. At the game, before the game, just walking around. It didn't matter. If I was in an area where I was stopped walking and they were stopped walking, I would say, hey, how's the day going for you? And,
Mm-hmm.
Marshall really came through. The Herd fans really came through. They gave those Hokies a positive experience everywhere but on the scoreboard. And that's exactly what you want to do as a Herd fan. So kudos to them, man.
And I have to say this about the tailgate too. We could not put this on one without our sponsor. And Landscaping by Hillcrest just made this an unbelievable tailgate for everybody with their sponsorship. But two, organizing, doing the cooking, bringing extra tables and stuff like that. MVP of the tailgate for me was Herd super fan Karen LeGrand.
Yep.
She was there early. She's been there for both. She's always saying, "What can I do? What can I bring? Can I bring this? Can I bring that?" As you know, we had a little bit of adversity trying to get that tailgate going. Small little kitchen fire. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. But we're over there having some additional issues, and Karen just said, "Let me step in and help." She's always bringing something. She's always doing something. MVP for that tailgate, Karen. Karen, happy birthday. I know it was shortly after that tailgate that you had a birthday, just like my daughter. But happy birthday, and thanks for all that you do, for always promoting the ThunderCast and always being willing to help and say, "What can I do?"
No doubt. We absolutely, certainly appreciate, because we need a lot of help.
Yeah.
As much as we like to think we've got it together and got it tightened down, and nah, man, there's always a new set of challenges for every home game and every tailgate, and just when you think you got it figured out, the honey catches on fire. But it's supposed to be hot honey, not whatever.
I made sure it was hot honey. Fire brewed, just like Stroh's.
So let's talk about the game. Let's talk about what our guys did. Cam Fancher goes 16 of 27, 166 yards, does get himself a touchdown, but 2 interceptions. Rasheen Ali, Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Week. You mentioned it in the 5 things. What an unbelievable performance. 27 carries, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, a long of 61, but the touchdown went from 56. And he was a shoelace away from a third. Well, I don't know if it was a third touchdown. It would just been a touchdown on that drive.
Yeah.
That would have went for, gosh, I don't even know where he got pushed out, but it would have been probably around 70.
It was at the 18, so I think that he would have gotten, it would have been a 79-yard touchdown.
Yeah, shoestring away from 79-yard touchdown.
And that guy had the angle on him. He didn't catch him from behind. He had the angle and still barely got him as he dove. That's just how fast Rasheen was. We saw on Twitter, this one account had him at 20.6 on the touchdown that he got, was over 50 yards. And then on that run that you were just talking about there, I think it was 19.8 or something like that. So right around 20 to 21 miles per hour, he was hitting on his top speed.
In full pads.
Yeah.
In full pads. Okay. Yeah. Rasheen Ali can flat fly without a doubt. Caleb Coombs is your leader in the clubhouse from a receiving yards standpoint. 4 catches on the day for 41 yards with a long of 15, leads the herd. Ethan Payne, 2 catches for 36 yards, including a beautiful over shoulder catch there going along the sidelines. Also chipped in 8 carries for 29 yards on the ground. Pretty decent all around day for Ethan. Not Caleb.
Cade Conley.
Cade Conley leads the herd in receptions, 5 receptions on the day for 35 yards. And DeMarcus Harris is the one that ends up with the touchdown, just the 1 reception for 12 yards. Snatched that ball out of the air, Russ. It looked like that was kind of to the wrong side maybe of DeMarcus, or he wasn't expecting it to be there. Excellent, elite body control and adjustment by Mr. Harris to snatch that ball and reel in the touchdown. Eli Neal is your leader from a defensive standpoint. Russ, 10 total tackles, just 1 solo on the day and 1 sack to go along with a tackle for loss. Kerryon Martin, 9 total tackles on the day, 5 of those solo. And dude brought the hit stick a couple of times on consecutive plays, if I'm not mistaken. 1 on a kickoff. Poor Virginia Tech returner. Seemed like every time he tried to return a ball, he just got flat obliterated, but none worse than when Kerryon Martin unloaded on him to start the second half and then followed that up with the first play on defense with another huge hit stick play. Mike Green, 5 total tackles, 3 solo, half a sack, and half a tackle for loss. We didn't even mention this. I've seen it a couple of times, but I didn't think to mention this earlier in the week when on Twitter, but I guess he and his brother are going to be matching up against one another in homecoming this week. I guess Mike's brother plays for Old Dominion, so nice little storyline for the Green brothers, going to go head-to-head against one another in this one. And then it gets a little busy there. 4 total tackles, all by Micah Abraham, Owen Porter, J.J. Roberts, A.G. McGee, and Sam Burton, all tally 4 tackles. OP puts on a half a sack and a forced fumble to go along with it, and Burton gets himself a full sack to keep the streak alive.
I think it's important to say, too, that on Herd Zone, we give 2 sacks to Owen Porter, and ESPN only gives the 1. 1 was recorded as a tackle for loss on a QB keeper. So depends on how you look at that, on whether that was a sack or not. But he got in the backfield and took him down behind the line of scrimmage twice. Either way you want to look at it.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't care if it's a designed run. I feel like if you tackle the quarterback behind the line, or if there is no quarterback and it's like a wildcat thing, it should be a sack. If the first guy to get the ball after the snap is tackled for a loss, it should count as a sack, right? Does that not seem like the way it should be, especially if it occurs in the tackle box?
Yeah, because let's look at those Tim Tebow design jump passes or whatever. It looks like he's going to tuck it and run, and then he just jumps up. That's still viable. He can still do that. You know, if he gets away, if Porter misses, do you think he's going to try to run? No, he's going to try to throw it to somebody. You know, first thing he's going to do, see if he can throw it to somebody. So
just one of those weird plays where one outlet sees it this way and our outlet sees it as a sack. So it is what it is. Impact plays total for the Herd, 4 total sacks on the day, 6 total tackles for loss, 6 passes defended, including 2 huge passes defended by Josh Moten to basically seal the game for the Herd. 1 forced fumble and 1 fumble recovery. Special teams wise, Reese Verhoff goes 1 of 2 on field goals, long of 21. He missed from 49. Looked like he had plenty of leg, just sailed it, pushed it. And 3 of 3 on extra points. Russ, nothing outstanding in the special teams game other than that, you know, a scare by Mason Pierce fielding a punt, but heads up to double clutch that bad boy and take control of it, or that would have been disastrous. But other than that, it was nothing. Very ho-hum day for special teams.
Well, we almost came away with one where we
the kickoff.
Yeah, we kicked it short, and we ended up continuing to kick short for the rest of the game, but they just let it drop right between it. Hit one of them. But
they looked at each other like, you getting it or you getting it?
And it looked like we were going to come up with a heads-up play by them to recover. But so it could have been a drastically different game, could have been a drastically different special teams outlook with that.
Surely could have been. And I tell you what, that's where team speed kills you because we actually had that first defender run past the ball and try to recover and get back to it, but it just didn't happen. But that would have changed the trajectory of that game without a doubt. Let's revisit our keys to victory if you can remember yours.
I've got
Uh,
them written down this time, believe it or not.
oh, the memory's not failing. He's just more prepared for this question this time.
That's right.
All right. So, what was your number one key to victory?
Establish the run, and I'm going to give that a nice green check.
Check. I said the same thing. I said they needed to harness the energy of the herd crowd and run like hell. And they did absolutely do that. Despite the opening drive touchdown followed by the interception, this crowd stayed engaged all game long and they stayed loud when they needed to. Special shout out, real quick, to the herd student section for causing two massive false start penalties, one early and one late, especially that one on a 4th and 1 with under a minute to go to push that to a 4th and 6. Those guys deserved every bit of pizza that they're going to earn for getting those false start penalties. What was your number 2?
Number 2 was pressure the quarterback, and that is a big green check.
Yep, absolutely. 4 sacks on the day does the job. This herd seems to just give up a big run here and there by the quarterback. It looks like it's going to happen until it doesn't. Otherwise, no real damage done. I said Marshall needed to dominate the point of attack on the offensive line and defensive line, and I'm going to give that a yep. When your running back goes for 174 yards and you get 4 sacks on the day and hold their rushing game to, not I'm on because they didn't shut it down, but they didn't do any damage on the ground aside from that one touchdown run and maybe another one late by drones. But through the meat and potatoes of the game, didn't really happen. What was your third one?
Create turnovers. I can't give that. We got one, but that's not a plural. And I was saying that we needed to get several in this game to just really, really change the field and change the drives and that sort of thing. So
Yeah,
red X for me.
that's fair. My third one was I said the herd needed to play 4 solid quarters, and I can't give that one a check mark. I can't give it a full-on big bold red X either.
Yeah.
Because really after that primary first drive, they settled in and played a lot better, but it was just not a solid 4 quarters. It took the offense a little while to get going. The back-to-back touchdown allowed and interception, that's enough to exit right there.
And we didn't score in the first and fourth, and they did score in the first and fourth. So big X for me on that one.
All right. What was your last?
Last one was to do all gas, no brakes. Now I got to give us an X on that because I feel like at the end, not because of any kind of coaching decision, I felt like our execution. We had to start running because we weren't throwing efficiently, in my opinion. Now, did that also help run down the clock and everything? Yeah, but I don't think that we were intentionally trying to play scared or play not to lose. It's just some of the things, which we'll get into in just a minute, didn't go our way. One of them was a play that didn't even get to happen, and the other was execution on a couple other plays due to some overthrows and underthrows.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think like you get into this sort of, I don't want to call it conservative because they were just trying to run plays. They just weren't gaining yards.
That's
so
right.
if you convert one of those,
right,
and you eat another minute and a half off the clock during that time frame, then maybe that turns into a check mark, right? But it just didn't.
Sure.
My fourth key to victory was respect the mobility of drones. I think we did respect it, but we didn't do enough to shut it down. He didn't have a lot of big plays, but he had a couple, and he had a couple that accounted for some points. And so that's an X. Even though we did respect it, we didn't do enough to, fully neutralize it enough for my liking, But all in all, 2-2 for me. Looks like 2-2 for you. But it all adds up to a herd victory. It doesn't really matter. Let's go into some grades. What do you got for Cam in this big home game against Virginia Tech?
I got a C-. I think that it was decently average because he hit some big throws, and then he had some overthrows and he had some underthrows. But the 2 picks definitely overshadow the one touchdown, so I got it as a C-. He was not on his game for throwing the ball the way he was. I don't think that it was anything from pressure. He just underthrew one to Kelly Lawson, the first pick of the game. That guy's 6'4", and he just did not seem there. He
Yeah.
seemed like he was off on his throws.
Yeah, you're right, and you can't miss a guy that big. Now,
Yeah.
granted, if Lawson doesn't make the interception and that's a completed pass, it's probably going for a huge gain.
Oh
Huge gain.
man, Coombs was wide open. You know, and if you throw that, I don't think you could float it. The announcer said you've got to throw that over top of him. I think to be able to do that, the guy's 6'4" and had to jump for the interception.
Yeah.
So you're talking about floating it over there. That's either throwing it out of bounds because he was right on the sideline, or that gives the safety time enough to get over there. But if he could have thrown it at a different angle to get it past that second line, you're talking 20, 25 yards or something because no one was around him. No
Yeah,
one.
but look, shout out to Lawson for being where he was supposed to be
That's
and
right.
being a
That's right.
heads up athletic play. And the 6'4" frame probably helped a little bit to make that an easier of a play for him. But you're right. The other one to me that sticks out was the sideline pass that went to Talik Keaton. That when we were doing the rewatch, I said, man, that ball's got to be you. Talik's got to run to that ball, right?
Yeah.
Because he's so damn fast. You just got to rear back and rip it and make Talik go run to that ball because he probably will track it down.
Yeah.
So that one was a little ho hum for me, but otherwise, solid C minus day. I would really like to see Cam start consistently getting up into that B plus or better range.
I
Because
think if we're talking about the same pass with Talik, that would have been probably a 30-some yarder at minimum.
Right. And that's if he runs him out of bounds
Right.
with the pass. If he runs him slightly to where he can continue running, it very well could have went all the way. And that would have been a huge play. So, yeah. But you're right. It's the average, and now we're starting to get into some Sunbelt games. We got homecoming coming up, Old Dominion's on the horizon. Yeah, we got to go down to Raleigh and play NC State too before it's full on SBC play. But we got to get Cam to notch up into that B plus consistently range now. We're enough into the season to where you just need to be there, and he's not doing anything to make us lose games.
Yeah.
But we saw him get better week after week after week last season, and now we need to see him do that again right now. That's all. Mm-hmm. Offensively as a whole, what do you got for this Herd team? 24 points. I feel like they left points off the board. So great rushing day, not a great passing day. What do you got?
I've got a B, and I think that the points that they left on the table, but also the 2 interceptions, they just could have done a little bit more. I got to give them a B.
Yeah, it's fair. Outside of Rasheen Ali, who really shined, we didn't have a wide receiver that had a stellar day. 5 catches leads the way. That's not bad, but we don't have anybody get even close to 100 yards. The quarterback only has 166, so you can't expect anybody's going to have a blowout day. But it just left a little to be desired. Defensively, what do you got for the Herd?
A minus. And I feel like if they could have corralled the quarterback just a little bit. Now, we're talking about a guy that's 235 pounds barreling down, and as I told you, it looked like every time he fell forward for 7 yards.
Right.
He was a downhill runner when he got it. Some of them were designed for that. But if we corral him, A minus. A plus. So I'm giving us an A minus.
I think despite the victory, right, it's going to have to be just a little bit lower for me. I think I'm pushing that B plus range, because this defense allows 6.1 yards per rush to Virginia Tech, who coming into this game could not run the damn football. And we talked about that, and we thought, man, this could be really ugly for them if they can't move the ball and Drones is forced to pass, and we're able to run the ball. And then they came in and were able to do just that. They were able to come in and run the football on the Herd. 184 yards allowed. I mean, Drones has 75 yards rushing on 15 carries for 2 touchdowns.
And he would have had more because that includes the sack yardage, right?
Yeah, well, his individual rushing yard, or I don't know if it comes off his individual or the team, but one or the other, it may. But they didn't allow a 100-yard rusher. The problem was they allowed 2 guys to go for at least 75 and 2 touchdowns on the ground.
Tootin
So
had that long run, and then he had another pretty long run. I don't think that one was a pass. I can't remember. He did have a pass catch, I think, for a decent gain, but he had two chunk plays, if I remember.
yeah, he did. He had a long 49-yard run that did not result in a touchdown, of course.
Yeah.
Jones had the 31-yard run that did result in a touchdown and then added on another one later. You must be talking about the 19-yard catch that Tootin had down the
Yeah,
sideline.
but the first drive, Tootin, right before the 31-yard rush by Drones, Tootin had a 28-yarder there in the opening. So he had a 49 and a 28 plus that 19-yard
Yeah.
catch and run.
So coming into the game, we had talked about Virginia Tech only averaging like 2 yards a carry as a team, and then they tripled that in this one, which, yes, it might be just several chunk plays, but still, the numbers just don't go away. The plays still happened. Overall, great effort. Don't get me wrong, but if we're
Yeah,
nitpicking, I gotta nitpick a little bit.
sure.
Special teams wise, what do you got for the Herd?
C minus, we missed a field goal,
Yeah,
and then everything else was pretty much average. I liked what we did with the kicks. Like I said, it almost caught them so off guard that you're talking about scoring a touchdown, then going down and getting an onside kick, even though it was a pooch kick. You're just 20 to 30 yards further down the field. We would have been in near the red zone
yeah.
at that point if we recovered that. I think it would have been around the 30 or something like that we would have started our drive. That could have put an early nail in the coffin if we get that. So C minus just because that one didn't materialize and two, we missed a field goal.
I tell you, I liked it just about every time, I think, except for it might have been the last time we did it because the guy got returned up to near the 40 or something like that. And I thought, man, why? It's getting later in the game. Make him go longer down the field. It almost was something awesome the first time. And it's not going to happen again. The guys aren't going to look at each other again and go, is it yours or mine? Or somebody's going to field that ball. So,
But most of them were fair caught except
right,
for that
yes.
last one.
That last
Except for
one
that last one.
late in the game was like, damn, now they're really, got an opportunity to do something here. But you're right. Other than that, it was okay. A little bit of a scare on the punt I mentioned from Pierce. And then after that, it was Keaton back there fielding the punt. So a quick switch and, making that one right for the Herd. Nothing to write home about, but we got to get the field goal game figured out. It's got to get figured out.
Yep.
Coaching staff, what do you got for the coaches this week?
Give them an A. Go watch that. Seek it out if you haven't seen it. And I'm not talking about just the tail end of it. You have to watch the entire speech right before they run out of the tunnel by Coach Huff. Motivating, yes. Everyone should have wanted to run through a wall for that guy after that speech. But two, to me, he had them ready. Defense was ready, so you got to give all those coaches their props as well. The P5 coming into our house, no one seemed to fear that. That's coaching, getting them ready for that, making them believe in themselves and all that. And I felt like we called a pretty good offensive game. One thing that stands out to me, the announcers highlighted this, but I thought this during the game, was we were probably going to see another double pass. The pass that went to Talik Keaton when they were in the double stack on the left and right, there was a false start that negated that play. It didn't even get to go, but at that point, Virginia Tech had seen what was coming. But Rasheen Ali was streaking down the middle and then was probably, like you and I talked, going to go to the right sideline, which was on Talik Keaton's side. And you probably could have thrown it up like a punt and he would have caught it because no one was going to be around him.
Yeah.
So you're talking about some coaching here that was probably going to go for the throat, pulling out a big time play, when no one was expecting it. And I just have to give them overall an A.
Yeah, I think it was a really great game plan overall,
Yeah.
and Coach Huff has garnered some props this week, being named some, coach of the week by some, online personalities and entities, and Coach Seymour got some props. It was the same thing as like repping the Sun Belt, the Sun Belt Coach of the Week type stuff, and from some online entities. But man, I tweeted this, I think, on the heels of the Seymour accolade. It's not just him, man. Ralph Street had his guys ready to roll.
Hmm.
Shannon Morrison had his guys ready to roll. Travis Jackson had his guys ready to roll. Dude, that whole defense was just ready to roll. Shout out to Telly Lockett from what he's been doing with Rasheen Ali for years. You can tell that those guys work so well together. It is just, it's almost unfair at times. When Rasheen's on, I don't know how many in the country are better than him. And he was on. He was on in that game, despite being bottled up here and there, despite the shoestring tackles early on that just seemed to elude that big run early for him. He had a good time. He had a good game. He had a really good game.
I forgot one other aspect of this coaching. We came into this 2-0, and we had moved offensive linemen around to get to this 2-0, and we had a lot of tackles for loss in those first two games, and we saw another shuffle of
Mm-hmm.
moving Trent Holler back to guard, moving Osborne back to center, moving Tucker back to guard, and then putting in Lloyd Willis in there as the right tackle. And we saw a drastic drop off in the tackles for yards. We saw more 2 and 3 yard gains instead of 2 and 3 yard losses, to where Rasheen didn't have to hit a 61 yarder or something like that to get going. He was getting 5 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
Just looked like a totally different run blocking unit with the way that they changed everything up.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's how it's going to be from here on out. We don't know what they're going to do. But I do have to say that was a good coaching decision because it obviously played out well on the field.
Yeah, it looks like a fluid situation along the Herd offensive line right now. We don't know where everybody needs to be. I think they're still trying to figure it out. But ultimately, it's still a 3-0 undefeated team. So this team is good enough to try to figure it out on the fly and still win football games. And yeah, it helps that you've got a really great running back to help you do that too. But just an overall stellar game plan. Big win for the guys. Happy for Huff and his staff. Happy for those players. I know they wanted that one back. We've owed Virginia Tech one for a number of years. These guys have absolutely nothing to do with that. They weren't on those rosters 10 years ago or whatever. We just let them slip away, and these guys were able to give the Herd their first victory over the Hokies since 1940, I think they
Yeah.
said. So that's pretty
Yep.
freaking cool. Okay, here's where it gets really great, Russ. What about the fans this week? What's the grade for the Herd fan base against Virginia Tech?
I do not have enough pluses to
Right?
give the A plus 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 plus. I just run out of them. So A plus infinity is what we're going for here. The stripes look great. The We Are Marshall was loud as can be. I do have to say, and I mentioned this to you while we were watching the rewatch. If I'm sitting there, standing there, as it were, screaming "We Are," and I look around and there are some people that aren't, think of every single person in there saying "We Are" and Marshall at the same time, instead of just saying, well, it's loud enough, I won't get involved. No, man,
Mm,
do your part. Do your
mm-hmm.
part. I
Yep.
don't care if you're 8 or 80. Do your part. Just voicing "We Are Marshall," just on third downs, just making some kind of noise, fourth down, making some kind of noise. Stand up, be loud, be seen. But I'm not bitching because A plus 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 plus. We packed that place out. We were loud, and it was a difference. You could tell that it made a difference to the team, and we got a couple of false starts.
Yep, that's right, man. The students, like I said earlier, they really, really brought forth a top tier effort this week. But so did all of the Herd fans. They came early. They packed the place out. Had it not taken longer to get into the stadium because
Mhm.
of fewer gates open now, the place would have been full before kickoff.
And I have to, I'm sitting here in line. You've got a lot to think about when it takes 30 minutes to get in, right? And I heard people bitching, why didn't they open this gate? Why didn't they open that gate? Or, here it be, there were 3 different physical entrants. Well, they had it set up a certain way. They had one person there checking the bags and one person scanning the tickets. Did they have another person they could have brought over there and opened up the gate? Maybe. But you know whose fault it was? All of us trying to go in at 11:45.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously going to bottleneck. It doesn't matter if they would have opened up 2 more gates. It still would have taken time. So if we would have gone in at 11:30, we would have missed all that line. And I know for a fact my father-in-law came and sat next to me, and he got into the game about a minute later than me, and he was about 20 minutes behind me trying to get into the line. So it was just that 10-minute window, 15-minute window when it was hard to get in.
Yeah,
And I
we got in a little earlier. You know, I
yeah,
was in my seat probably 12 minutes before kickoff. But I know, this tells me a couple things. A, it shouldn't take Virginia Tech coming to town for Herd fans to show up and show out like that, because now you know you're capable of doing it,
that's
you
right.
know, and you know how awesome it looks when you do it. You
That's
know
right.
how great it sounds when you do it. And these guys were energized and jacked up to come out of that tunnel and see that striped stadium, hear that crowd. You know, you could tell that it kept them on another level. You know, you can tell. And when I talked to Owen several weeks ago, months ago, he said, "Man, there's nothing better than running out of that tunnel to a packed Joan C. Edwards Stadium. Nothing
Yeah.
better." You know,
Yeah.
so I know for a fact that it has an impact on those guys, and you know
Yep.
for a fact it has an impact on how they play. So there's
That's
no
right.
reason to do it. It doesn't matter if it. Who else is on the schedule? Old Dominion on the schedule. Show up, right? Who else is on the schedule this year? Georgia State, Georgia Southern on the schedule. Show up. Arkansas State. Show up, right?
James Madison,
James
Thursday
Madison
night game.
on a Thursday. Show up, right? Because you need that home field advantage. You know, it makes a difference to those guys. It makes a difference to your own experience. The more people that are there. The last.
One more thing about coaching. Sorry.
Okay.
I think that final false start was also a design. You know how you have, if you've
Yeah.
got the
Sure.
ball, you have a let's draw them off sides play. You know, let's try to do the fake clap. Let's try to get them to jump so we can get a first down. We came out of that timeout, and the entire line looked like synchronized swimming. Just one motion moved. Everyone moved one space to the right, and that was enough to make their right tackle jump. And they went from 4th and 1 to 4th and 6, and that drastically changed that final play that they had. So I got to give that to the coaches too. They dialed up the correct play at the correct time to try to do that. I think it was 100% a work for them to do.
Sure was, man. That was like a perfect storm thing. You had the students going crazy. You had the
Yeah,
crowd really loud. You had the defensive line shift in unison, and it was all enough to make the one offensive lineman jump early, and that really thwarted the game right there for for the Hokies.
yeah.
They were driving, and we needed something, and we got it with under a minute to go. That's a big time play right there. That is a big time play. Last thing I've got to say about fans, Russ, is I had some family come down from Virginia, and it's their first Herd game. And I sat with them. They were at our tailgate. And, sometime during the game, I would just ask, just in general conversation, I'm like, well, how is it? And they're like, man, this is really cool. This is a really cool place. This is an awesome town to come watch a football game. It's a great little stadium to come check out, because they go to Tech games every now and again. And I was talking to Devin. He's like, man, this is what we like to do. We like to travel around and go to games. We like to, and they were ripping off all the stadiums that they'd been to in recent, recent history. And they travel and they see some games all over the place. And they were like, man, Marshall's really cool. I would definitely come back here again. So the hospitality was on point, the environment was on point, the team was on point, and everything just added up to everybody that was in green and white anyway, having a really great time. And I would like to think that outside of the 3 hours, 3.5 hours maybe that the game was being played, those people that were clad in Virginia Tech colors also had a really great time. So A plus all the way around, not just Herd fans, but also Hokie fans. I had
Mhm.
positive interactions with all of them and really great conversations before, during, and even after the game when they were disappointed they had just lost to the Herd.
It's the way a football game ought to be, man.
Yep.
It's the way it ought to be.
Overall, what do you got for this game experience?
A plus. I mean, getting a first win in 83 years. We don't play them every year. We've played them sporadically over those 83 years, but that 2013 game was still sticking in the craw a little bit, and got that monkey off our back. And nationally, people look at it and it's like they beat Virginia Tech. They don't say they beat Virginia Tech that seemed to be down this year.
Yeah.
They say the Herd beat Virginia Tech. Instant respect for us. So great tailgate, great time, great atmosphere, great weather, except for what you can still see the remnants of a
Oh,
massive sunburn.
yeah.
Yeah,
I got the sunglasses outline going on big and bold. My arms literally caught fire the next day because they were so burnt, but hey,
I,
worth it.
I just wish they made something, some type of screen for the sun that you
I
could put
know.
on yourself.
I
It
also
would.
wish I was responsible enough to buy said screen made for the sun and apply said screen made for the sun instead of going, yeah, it'll be all right. The weather said 73. 73 my ass. I burnt to a crisp out there. And
I got burnt worse than my stove from that hot honey.
real quick, three more things. Who's your offensive MVP?
Got to be Rasheen Ali, man.
Got to be.
Got to be.
Who's the defensive guy for you this week?
Tough, tough, tough. Because you look at what On Martin did. He really stepped up in this game. But you look at Owen Porter forced a fumble that we recovered and changed that drive. Had 1, 2 sacks, half a sack to 2 sacks, whichever
Yeah,
way you want to look at it. Um, Sam Burton had another big game. Eli Neal had a big game. Micah Abraham absolutely shut
blanket.
everybody down, and he had that huge hit on Gosnell. Looked like a miniature Larry McLeod hit there, a textbook tackle. So it is so hard to pick. So I'm just going to go with Owen Porter just because he seems to be the heart and soul of that defense. And he seems to be, when he comes up and he's beating the chest and he comes up and he does the 6 shooter and he does all that, I just got to give it to him because I feel like he's the captain of that defense by default.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they feed off that energy that he brings. So, Owen Porter.
Not cannot argue with it. I don't think
Yeah.
there's anybody on this entire roster that Huntingtonians identify with more than the Huntington kid, right? Than Owen Porter. So excellent pick. Special teams. Who you got this week?
I'm gonna go with On Martin with that hit. I mean,
Had to get it in there somehow.
I mean, what else? I mean, there wasn't anything that really stood out.
No.
So punting was not bad, but there wasn't anything that there was like a 78 yarder or anything like that. We missed a kick. We didn't have anything major in the return game, so I'm going to go with that hit stick maneuver on number 19, who totally didn't see it coming, but he sure did the second time when he did a fair catch from the couple times.
Well, every time he tried to return one, he didn't see it coming, and that one just really drove it home. It's like, man.
A special shout out though to John McConnell for that around the
the wrangling tackle.
around
That's
the
right.
neck takedown of said number 19 for Virginia Tech. It was brought back from a holding penalty. I think it was number 19 that he was. No, number 19 was the guy that did the hold.
I don't know. It was awesome.
Number 19 held, and I can't remember number 11 or whatever number it was on the returner, but same guy, and he got blasted.
So every time I see something like that happen, this is a We Are Marshall moment, right? Because I think about Matthew McConaughey's character, Jack Lingle, of course, going, the kid goes, I'm a kicker. He goes, yes, but after you kick the football, you're a football player. So that's what he does. Remember in the movie, the kicker makes a big hit, and he's like, that's what I think of. And that McConnell did that gave me a live We Are Marshall moment. So shout out to him. That was pretty awesome.
He certainly was a football player on that play.
Next up, the Herd welcomes the Old Dominion Monarchs to town this weekend for homecoming. And in our preview episode, we were fortunate enough to sit down with our buddies at the ODU Monarchists. They're very much like we are. They're a podcast and a group of fans that do a lot of really good things in the Old Dominion fandom world. So I'm really excited about having those guys on the show and helping us get a little insight that maybe we otherwise wouldn't know about regarding Old Dominion as we head into homecoming. So later this week, we'll have that put out. But for right now, Russ, around the Herd we go.
Yeah, let's go around the Herd, and let's start with softball, we picked up a commit from the 2024 class, outfielder Diamond Leslie.
Yep.
You
So
got any info on her you want to pass along?
I mean, Alpharetta, Georgia, I saw that she's a perennial 500 hitter over,
Hmm.
I listed the stats from her senior year, but if you go to her Max Preps profile, you can see that she's a perennial 500 hitter, really good fielder as well. So this looks to be like a very solid all-around addition for the future of Herd softball. Really excited about having Diamond on our diamond. That's going to be really great. So, softball is just kind of off and running. It never really has slowed down since the coaching change. And after the waves settled down from those, the portal outs and the all that kind of stuff, and Morgan to the helm and the coaching staff solidified, it really hasn't stopped. There's been a lot of positivity, a lot of recruiting news, a lot of really good stuff coming out with softball. And since we're talking softball, I stopped by after the women's soccer game on Sunday. I was driving down Third Avenue and I thought, hey, are they playing softball over there? And I stopped in a lot. They surely were. It was like a scrimmage game against Davis and Elkins. And I stopped in and watched for about an hour and a half. And I'm telling you, I'm telling you, this I was delightfully surprised. Looks like the bats, the long ball herd might be a thing again this year, Russ. We saw that a couple of years ago, and we deviated from it a little bit. Even though Ottomo and I was having a great year last year, Grace was having a great year, power hitting a little bit, and Cam's back, and Riley's back, but there were some long balls hit, and it was nice to watch. So we don't know exactly what this herd softball team will be, but I bet you they hit a lot of long balls again, and that's something we all can get behind.
Staying with softball, fall ball continues. They've got a game on Friday, so anyone in the area can go over and watch that. They will have that alumni tailgate with us on Saturday. You'll see a lot of familiar faces over there if you have followed softball for any amount of time. And then on Sunday, that home run derby that we talked about earlier. So
Yep.
a lot of stuff for softball this weekend.
Yeah,
Uh,
great ways to interact with the softball alums if you stop by the ThunderCast tailgate. And please find a way to support the home run derby. Even if it's a penny a foot, right? I mean, golly, even if it's a penny a foot, a couple of bucks here and a couple of bucks there, it's a fundraiser for the softball team,
mhm.
and they win a lot of games for the allocations that they have. Just imagine if they had larger pool of resources, what they would be able to do. So we've rallied around softball since we started this show, and that's not going to stop. In fact, I hope it amplifies a little bit. I really hope that it amplifies a little bit. I know the parents appreciate what we do, the players appreciate what we do, and we've got to get to know some of the coaches now because there's some newness there in Huntington, but so far, so good. The relationship seems like it's really solid, and I'm looking forward to, like I said, amplifying what we're able to do with Herd Softball because we really like that program. And I said it moving into the Sun Belt, this has the chance to be a cornerstone program, and so far I've been proven right with that.
On the baseball diamond, we picked up a commit from first base slash outfielder Carter Walters. Got anything on him?
Yeah, it took me a while to find his profile because I kept searching and I was getting somebody else. So there's another Carter Walters out there, but I nicely asked our Carter to link me to his profile so that I could get some info on him. But solid player, he's gonna be a nice addition to providing some offensive firepower. There wasn't a lot on this profiles that I could find as far as like multi-year stats, but trending in the direction that I think he's going to be a player. It might take a couple of years. Got to find your way onto the diamond to acclimate to the college game. We talk about that a lot with herd football, and this is no different. So, class of 2025 player, still a young guy. So, a lot of development to go, a lot of growing to do still at that age. But I like the numbers as we move, as we're moving through this year, and as he gets around to being a part of the herd, could really be a pop for the lineup, and we need some more pop in the lineup.
We mentioned the golf tourney already, the Greg Rousey Memorial. That'll be at Guyan on Friday. Also, the turf is down. Obviously, we talked about that a little bit last week, but it looks beautiful. And to top it off, they got that nice new Jack Cook Field paint there in the foul territory. I had said I hoped it was behind home plate. It's off to the side. I think on the third base side, maybe it's
Probably
first.
on the home side, I would
Yeah.
say, on the third
Well,
base side.
I couldn't tell where it was there, but you would think it would be on the home side. Um, but just nice to see. And you said it best when that went down, and you said on Twitter, for that "it'll never happen" crowd, you can see it here. It's here.
Mhm. Take a breath. It's
Yeah,
finally here. And to take that a step further, the guys were out there taking balls on the field today.
that's right.
You
Yep.
know, so some real history made today. It's been a weekend of herd history, and it's bled over into Tuesday, right? Because this is the first practice balls taken in the first ground balls fielded on Jack Cook Field by Marshall Thundering Herd players. Guys, it's a reality, and it's so
Yeah,
freaking
we're
cool.
6 months away from where they said it would be finished, and we're taking grounders on the turf that's already down. So
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of work to go, but we're going to have a field, guys. We're this is real. It's
We
going to
have
be
a
there.
field.
Yeah.
Ain't no more gonna. We have one.
All right. So over in volleyball, they lost on Thursday to Old Dominion 3-1, but came back and swept them on Friday 3-0. They will be traveling to Georgia State for another in conference play Thursday and Friday of this week.
Yeah, I think really what I need to do, Russ, is I guess I just need to go to all the volleyball matches because that was the first one
Clean
I'd been to, and they
clean sweep
swept
with you there.
Old Dominion, and I know they did that just for me. I appreciate that. The best possible environment that you can ask for is a sweep. But dude, very, very entertaining game. We got some players, man. I can't sit here and tell you I know a lot about volleyball, but I knew what I was watching,
Hmm.
and we had several players just absolutely dominating the match. Lyd Montague had a great match. Bryn Brown was a machine in that game. And just let me tell you that Jasmine Parrish literally has a cannon. Like when she goes up to spike a ball, it feels like she can leap out of the gym and put such velocity behind a spike. It is amazing. It was amazing to me. I mean, you expect there to be a certain amount of pop and velocity at this level of volleyball. You just expect all these players have that ability. But it was like an extra gear. It was like an extra bang, an extra pop. It was awesome, man. I just found myself sitting up in the bleachers of the camera and just like captivated by what I was watching. It was so cool, man. So I had to put that out there. It was really entertaining. I implore all Herd fans to at least please go watch one volleyball match. We give tickets away to all the home matches. So if you're like, you know what, I'll go check it out. Please do. It is very, very cool. It was very entertaining. I'm glad I went. I am very glad I went.
What'd you think about that Terraflex floor? It's
It
really
looks
nice, isn't
sweet.
it? It
Yeah, it
does.
looks super sweet. It changes the whole face of the cam. I know the girls love it. They've talked to us before about that, and um, it does. It looks like a volleyball venue. Yeah, I mean, it always is going to look like the cam because it's the cam, and there's basketball stuff all over the place. But when you're looking down at the floor, it looks like a dedicated volleyball venue. It looks so super cool. It was just an awesome experience. So glad I went.
Tennis had Thunder in the Mountains, and that was not just against WVU. Marshall and WVU are both there, but Radford and a couple other schools were there. They had some. I don't want to go over the results of all three days, but just for example, we won 6 of 7 singles matches on the final day.
Hmm.
We won 12 doubles and singles matches combined on the first game or first day of matches. So, really good start to the season that kicked us off. And we now have 3 different things coming up that this week already. The ITF $15,000 Hilton Head is going on down in Hilton Head, South Carolina, September 25th, Monday through this coming Sunday, October the 1st, coinciding with Cary, North Carolina's ITA All American. That is this coming Saturday through next Sunday. And then we have Monday through Sunday of next week, the ITF $25,000 Reading in Redding, California. All three things kind of overlapping each other. We'll have players at all three.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting tennis season, I think, for the herd. We got a lot of our high performers returning from a year ago. Players like Emma Vanderhayden and Johanna Strom, of course. Um, Aisling McGreen is back, I believe. Reiki Gellar is back. Dortea Jokovic is back. I mean, we had a lot of high performers last year, and this team is poised to make some noise in the Sun Belt again. I'm excited for tennis, man. I really am. You know, I can't again pretend to be like a super duper fan, but I love it when our programs are doing well. And tennis did really well last year. And based on the Thunder in the Mountains, they came out of the gates rolling. Lots of matches won over the 3-day event. So
That day,
I am really excited about tennis for the herd this year.
that day one, Hurion and Vanderhayden went undefeated 3-0 on the day. Uh, it just seems like you get some of these players that they're great as singles and everything, but they might not be as good on doubles. But then sometimes you just match up two people that just play well together
Yeah.
as a team, and they seem to do that.
Yeah.
All right, so we are now going over to men's golf. They finished fourth at the Virtues Intercollegiate, right around. It's not held in Oxford, Ohio. It's actually at the Virtues. I can't remember the name of the town, but it's hosted by Miami, Ohio. Ryan Bilby was one shot off of the lead at
Mm-hmm.
8 under par. So great job. I know Tyler Jones and blanking on the other guy, but they led us on the final day and everything. Bilby actually uh, was in the lead at a certain point and ended up finishing second.
Well,
They go ahead.
I thought he finished tied for fourth, one stroke off the lead. Maybe I just read that wrong. I was thinking maybe
Maybe
somebody won and maybe three guys might have been off the. You know what I mean?
well,
One of
that'd
the.
be tied for second if they were
I
one
don't.
off.
Yeah, I know, but maybe I read it wrong. I probably did read it wrong. I just thought
Unless
I
and
saw.
the only way he could be tied for fourth is if three different people tied to lead.
Oh
So
yeah, that's true. Well, I doubt that happened, but I'm sure I read it wrong. I mean, it's not like I never make mistakes on this show
well,
ever.
we finished fourth as a team, so
Yeah.
that could have been what you were thinking. But I took it that he was second. I did not look at the leaderboard. I just read the article as it was reported on Herd Zone.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, anyway, they are going on to the Tom Tontamonia Invitational on Monday and Tuesday, also in Ohio.
Cool.
Cross country, we have the Louisville Classic on Saturday. You want to guess where that's at? It's in Louisville. Need to keep the momentum going that we had here after our Thundering Herd Invitational, and hope to see new records set, which seems to be the theme anytime we have our guys and gals running.
Yeah. No doubt. I really
Women's
like.
basketball. Go ahead.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say I really like following this program. I say that a lot, but I really like following this program because it's stuff that most people can follow along. You don't need to know the intricacies of like volleyball and
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah.
You like I
You just
understand the
try to outrun
disciplines. Yeah,
the next person.
I understand the disciplines and what it means. So it's easy to follow, and they're good. They're good. So they're
Yeah.
really easy to follow.
Women's basketball practice starts on Monday. Men's basketball practice has already started. Don't forget hoops in Huntington for both squads. Swim and dive will also be over there. Ian Walsh's squad. So get out and get over to hoops in Huntington. You'll have a great time. You'll get to interact with these guys and gals. And first little glimpse of Kim Stevens Caldwell's team.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a metric ton of excitement around women's basketball. And it may not be early because I feel like some people won't be quick to be like excited for some reason, like But by the time you're a month in or something, I think people will be like, "Dang,
Conference
man,
play.
I'm on this. I'm behind this. This is going to be cool."
I
But
think when we get into conference play, it's going to hit everybody that
yeah,
you'll see the style of play, you'll see the fast pace, you'll see the high scores, and
yeah,
yeah,
and of course, we'll have to do some roster breakdowns and things to get people prepared for that because remember we hit the portal. She hit the portal huge,
huge.
huge. Like
And
half of the roster got overturned, and she brought in players from Glenville that were her high performers at
yeah,
Glenville. So we've got to refamiliarize folks with all those moves and what happened because man, this is could be a win instantly type scenario for Kim.
when there's a new offensive scheme, you just have to bring and defense. If you have that offensive scheme, it's got to be a different defensive scheme too. You can't play different on one end than you do the other. It's just going to be fast paced the whole
Yeah.
time. So you have to build your roster for that. So women's soccer, they've been in a skid and it's trying to get out. And as you were talking, they have some key injuries and things like that. They lost 4-0 at a very good James Madison squad at JMU, and then they lost at home 2-0 to South Alabama, undefeated South Alabama, I
Yeah.
might add. And they will be at Troy this Saturday, hoping to turn things around.
Yep, that was what I thought was going to be the nightcap, even though it was a noon Sunday game. I thought that was going to be the nightcap to my Herd Athletics weekend. I went to the game against South Alabama, and South Alabama's really good. I mean, they were
Mm-hmm.
smothering. It's like they controlled the pace of the match the entire way. And it was tough, man, because I noticed some key injuries to some very key players, and I'm not going to put that out there because I haven't seen it out there. If you go to a match, if you're following the program, you'll know. But I don't think it's necessarily a coincidence that we're seeing a skid now
Yeah.
because we need some of those players that are out to be back, and I don't know when or if they'll be back. We'd like to think they will, but I'm not sure. South Alabama, they can't take anything away from them. They were really good. They're undefeated for a reason. But that was a really good match, man. I was unsure how many people were going to be there. On the heels of a big football game, you never know if people are like wiped out from the weekend and will they make it. And I went, and I was pleasantly surprised. I bet you there were several hundred people there, including a friend of ours that I hadn't seen in probably a decade or more. And I just happened to turn around, and he was at the concession stand, and I had to do a double take and walked over and talked to him. And I was like, well, hell, I'll just come up and sit with you for a little while. And we chatted for, basically the second half of that match. That was a really nice bonus, somebody I wasn't expecting to see. And then I spent some time with, and that was really cool. But overall, the experience was really fun. There was a lot of energy there. And I saw some players from other sports there supporting our women's soccer team, which is always nice to see. So, we get some of those players back. We get a little streak again, and we'll get the mojo back. It's not that far away. I just think we need to get healed up and get things back on track.
And finally, men's soccer, you're number one in the nation in RPI in every poll that could be. We
Yep.
are number one in the nation.
Yep.
We hosted number 3 at the time, UCF, and we beat them 1-0.
Yep.
And you were at that game. I'll let you talk on it a little bit, but I just
Yep.
want to say at the very end where they scored the goal with 24 seconds, 42 say whatever it was, and then that goal was negated.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that was just a tense and then celebratory time in my house when I jumped up because I did not get to go to the game as you took someone with us. I did not have a ticket at this
Yep.
major sold out event, but I also had to go home and play dad after playing tailgate guy all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. I was at the match. First off, I got to say, sellout crowd, amazing environment. When I say loud, I mean freaking loud, man. Those folks get into it. And yes, I'm sure it was because of the magnitude of the match a little bit as well, but G money. It was an unbelievably great environment, man. I can't drive that home enough. There were some guys that were behind us. There were probably like 4 or 5 buddies, like 2, 3 rows behind us, and they didn't quiet down at all. I mean, they were given some of the best heckling that I've ever heard in the best possible way. It wasn't like derogatory. There was no, like cuss word type stuff. They weren't just being mean type stuff. It was some of the most creative, wonderful heckling I've ever heard in my life. The type of stuff where you go, I can respect that. I can respect that level of trolling. Sellout crowd, 3,075 people, standing room only, and they were elbow to elbow all around the perimeter of that field. And man, I'll tell you, it was intense for the whole thing. UCF's a good team. They really are. But we're a better team. And being down 3 starters, prolific scorers, and still being able to take care of business like that just proves the type of team that this herd team is. I mean, they are damn good. Shout out to the UCF coaching staff for trying to get away with a fast one there to close out the game. They scored that goal um, by trying to catch Parada asleep, you know, and just attack the ball before he could get rid of it. But I guess they were ruled offside or something like that, and that's why it didn't happen.
Yeah, it was kind of the announcer was going back and forth saying that it was illegal a little
Yeah.
bit, but it could have been not just that. It could have been the act of what he did, how he did it, but also once he did it, as soon as he did it, that made them offsides.
Yeah.
If that made sense. So
Yeah.
either way,
But if it works, then it works.
yeah,
So it was definitely you're going to lose anyway. So that was
yeah,
your
might as
last
well
ditch
try.
effort to try it. You get it doesn't hurt, but I'll tell you what, this was the funniest thing to me, and I know that it's soccer. I know that it is. But those UCF guys, our seats are like 2 rows, 3 rows behind their bench, the visiting bench. Dude, they celebrated like they won the freaking Super Bowl because they tied the match. And I mean, like, they were acting like they won the match. And I was thinking, man, you guys are really going all out for a tie. And I know that it's soccer and that means something and you still get points and it's not like, it's not inconsequential. But man, they were really, really just going to another level with their celebrations over a tie that ultimately within a minute and a half did not stand.
Yeah, and again, we're down our best player, Matthew Bell. We're down Garcia Pascual, and I'm blanking on the third, but 3 starters from
Yeah.
your number one ranked
Yeah.
team are out, and that's the best you can do. Is you're going to try a cheap
Pull a
cheat,
fast one.
yeah, for a tie
Yeah.
against, and I don't know, maybe they had a starter out as well, but I don't know. I think we would have heard if they would have had a player the caliber of Matthew Bell out. And oh, by the way, he wasn't all that we had out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It was very impressive showing, man. It was very, very, very impressive. It did get a little chippy several times in the match. It looked like UCF was able to get away with some things that Marshall was not getting away with. So that just proves that there was no home cooking going on. There was nothing like that. The herd was kind of having to earn it, despite scoring in the 25th minute. Uh, they had to go the remainder, the remaining 65 minutes or whatever of that match, nose to nose and step for step with UCF. Neither team was backing down an inch. Neither team, and it shows. Final 30 seconds of the match, they're trying to pull a quick one. But it was an awesome environment to be in. The last thing I have to say about Around the Herd is I tweeted this and I want to drive it home because I think a lot of folks missed it. Sellout crowds at both venues. Marshall's now official capacity are both capped at the Jones Edwards Stadium and the Vet at a 75. And I
Yeah.
think that is just such an awesome Marshall detail that it's almost it should be that way. 3,175 31,475. I just think that's such a cool detail, and shout out to whoever thought to do that because it's so perfectly awesome. I
I
love it.
also want to say that we set that record and beat the last time was 2 years ago in September. It was against WVU, the
Yeah.
previous record. So you've got an in-state, however many people WVU brought down, or from Charleston, Days Valley, wherever WVU fans are, and you've got the history between the two coaches there, both from the same coaching tree, with Grassy going up against WVU's team. This was UCF that came in here.
There were no UCF fans there.
So this was all Marshall.
Yeah.
So, but I also want to highlight that we have now, out of at least the top 10, but even further than that, our attendance here that I'm looking, 12 different games that we've got over 1,400. And I just looked at James Madison, who has a really good history of soccer down there for men and women. And that would have been their record, I think, down there. Maybe UVA or maybe UNC, when they came to town, they topped 1,500, but everything else was below that. We now have 12 over 1,400. And by the way, we are 10-0-2 in those 12 games. So
wow.
If you pack the vet, there's a really good chance we're going to dominate some teams.
It's almost like what Owen Porter said about football also applies to soccer, doesn't it?
It applies
and
to
it probably
everything.
Also applies to basketball and volleyball and baseball,
yes.
and softball. That's why we always tell you folks, if you can go. You'll have a great time, and you have a positive impact on the outcome on the field most of the time.
Wasn't there $5 tickets to this?
The standing room only seats were $5.
$5. And a lot of people like going and standing anyway. I've seen it there when it wasn't a capacity crowd, and they like to stand and talk to other people, and they're just down at the fence and everything. So it's cheap to go to some of these matches and cheap to go into some of these events. So we just need to do a better job as fans. Hell, I'm including myself in that. I'm not standing up here preaching at anybody. We need to do a better job at going to everything that we can. Now, I really would have liked to have gone to that game. I did not have a ticket, one, because, we gave ours away. But I also, had to get home for my getting ready to turn 12-year-old daughter and be a dad for everything that I had to give up from 4 o'clock on that day. I had to get home and be with them.
Yeah, so it was an awesome weekend. I can't thank my family enough for saying, yeah, go do that, because, that was it all came together kind of at the last minute, within the last week or so.
Yeah.
And that's why I said I'm taking every advantage I can to go watch every Herd thing that I can. And I did, and I'm glad I did it. I was tired. I mean, wore the hell out. On Saturday, we went for 22 hours. 22 hours. Tailgating football, tailgating soccer, dinner after dinner, whole lot of fun. Very little sleep. Can't do it again, but I can do it once. I might not be good for another year to do something like that, but the adrenaline was running all weekend long. I was running on coffee and adrenaline, I think. But hey, it was a great weekend. Let's just repeat it this weekend, especially on the gridiron. Let's get us a big homecoming win. Keep it scooting right along, moving the Herd undefeated to 4-0 if we can. We just looking to go 1-0 this week, just like Huff says. Russ, if you got nothing else, take us out of here.
Last thing I'm going to say is we have, because of our scheduling this week and everything, we recorded this. Right after this is going to be the preview. Yeah, with a already recorded, but it will be right after this show. You'll see us wearing the same duds because we recorded it back to back, but also got 2 articles coming out on ThunderCast.online that are already written, ready to publish. We're going to have a lot of content for you this week. So if you're in town, please stop by the tailgate and say hello. And if you're not, please tell everybody else to do so. But wherever you see us, if you see us at the Joan, whether you see us at the Cam, whether you see us at Hoops in Huntington, wherever you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd.
Go Herd. It's the ThunderCast. We'll see you later.